I never imagined my own son would look at me with a mixture of exhaustion and impatience, like I was a responsibility he hadn't signed up for. But that night, as I stood in the kitchen with a warm plate of baked chicken, I felt something shift, something sharp enough to cut through the smell of rosemary and garlic. A mother can sense storms long before thunder, and I knew something was coming for me. The kitchen lights flickered. The old refrigerator hummed louder than usual. I heard murmurs from the living room, voices low, hurried. "She's costing us more than we can handle," Jenna whispered. Mark sighed heavily, rubbing his forehead the way he did whenever bills piled up. "I can't breathe in my own house anymore." I froze mid-step. The plate trembled in my hands. For a moment, I thought about pretending I hadn't heard a thing. But the words sank into me like cold water. I set the food on the dining table and forced a smile. "Dinner's ready," I called out, hoping my voice sounded steadier than I felt. Lily came bouncing down the stairs first. 16, hair in a messy bun, Starbucks cup still in hand. She grinned at me, the kind of grin that warms an old woman's bones. "Grandma, that smells amazing." I smiled back, grateful for the sliver of love she offered so effortlessly. Mark followed behind her, shoulders tense, eyes tired. He didn't look at me, just brushed past and sat down. Jenna came last, closing her MacBook Air with an exaggerated sigh as if I had personally interrupted her entire life. We ate in a strange silence for a few minutes, the kind that muffles the clinking of silverware. Lily complimented the meal. Jenna didn't. Mark kept checking his phone, as if waiting for someone to rescue him from his own home. Trying to ease the tension, I said softly, "When your father and I were younger, we didn't have much, but—" Mark's fork hit the table with a sharp clank. "Mom, can we not do this tonight?" I blinked. "Do what?" He exhaled sharply, trying to keep his voice low. "The stories, the memories, the comparisons. I've had a long day." "I wasn't comparing," I whispered. Jenna snorted quietly. "You always do." I swallowed a lump in my throat. "I was just trying to share something happy." "Well, it's not helping," Mark snapped before catching himself. "Just, please." Lily glanced at him, shocked. "Dad, she didn't say anything wrong." But Mark wasn't listening anymore. His eyes were distant, haunted by pressures I wasn't allowed to see. He rubbed his temples, exhaled once more, and suddenly pushed his chair back. The air in the room shifted. I felt it. The moment a heart realizes it might be about to break. Mark stood up so suddenly his chair scraped the floor, a sharp sound that made me flinch. He didn't shout, yet, but the stiffness in his shoulders told me the storm he'd been holding back was dangerously close to spilling over. "I'm trying," he muttered, pacing a few steps away from the table. "I'm trying so hard, Mom. You don't understand." I folded my hands in my lap. "Help me understand, Mark." He turned around quickly, frustrated. "You being here changes everything. We can't breathe. We can't talk. We can't be normal." "I don't ask for anything," I whispered. "That's part of the problem," he shot back, rubbing his forehead. "The silence makes everything worse." Jenna leaned against the counter, arms crossed. "It's not personal, Margaret. We're just overwhelmed. Space is tight. Bills are tight. Tempers are tight." She gave a humorless laugh. "Honestly, everything is tight except this chicken. That's a little too dry." Lily's mouth dropped. "Mom, it's not dry. It's literally juicy." She stabbed a piece dramatically and waved it in the air to prove her point. A small bit flew off and landed on the floor. The dog, if we had one, would have loved the moment. Instead, we all just stared at the rogue piece of chicken until Lily sighed, picked it up with a napkin, and whispered, "Rest in peace, little guy." For 1 second, just one, we almost laughed. But Mark sank back into his chair, rubbing his temples. "I can't keep doing this." His voice cracked, and the sound trembled through the room like a quiet earthquake. I glanced at him, heart tightening. "Are you unhappy because of me?" "Because of everything," he exploded before stopping himself, guilt flickering across his face. "Work, bills, pressure, and yes, the way things changed after you moved in." "I moved in because you asked me to," I reminded him softly. "I know," he whispered. "But we didn't think it would be like this." Lily stood up so fast, her chair nearly tipped. "Grandma cooks, cleans, helps me with school, and literally does everything. You guys act like she's a problem. She's the only calm person here." "Calm?" Jenna scoffed. "She brings up the past every 5 minutes." "I do not," I said quietly. "You don't mean to," Jenna corrected with a shrug. "It's just exhausting." The words hit harder than I expected. Mark leaned forward, elbows on his knees, head in his hands. I need space. We need space. Lily's voice broke. So you're blaming Grandma for our problems? That's messed up, Dad. Mark didn't respond. He just stared at the floor, breathing heavily. I felt something deep inside me sink, a heaviness I hadn't known in years. Maybe I should stay somewhere else tonight, I whispered. At that moment, everyone looked up, each for different reasons. Lily in panic, Jenna in relief she tried to hide, Mark in shock that I'd suggested it, and for the first time, I began to wonder if leaving might actually protect what little love we had left. The room froze for a long moment after I whispered I might stay somewhere else. Even the air conditioner seemed to hesitate, humming quietly like it didn't know whether to keep going or shut down with the rest of us. Lily was the first to react. No, she choked out, her voice trembling. Grandma, you're not going anywhere. They're the ones being. She cut herself off before saying something she'd regret. I reached out and touched her arm gently. Sweetheart, your father is overwhelmed. Your mother too. Sometimes stepping away helps people breathe. Jenna straightened immediately, as if the idea of me leaving lifted 20 pounds off her shoulders. Maybe just for a little while, she said softly, trying to sound reasonable. Just until things settle. Lily glared at her. Settle into what? A house without Grandma? That's not settling. That's ruining everything. Mark stood again, but slower this time, like guilt was weighing him down. Lily, stop. You don't understand. No, she snapped. You don't. Her voice cracked, and she rushed over to hug me so tightly I could feel her heartbeat through her sweatshirt. It reminded me of when she was 5 and used to cling to my leg to avoid going to kindergarten. I held her close. It's okay, I whispered. No, it's not, she insisted, shaking her head until her buns started falling apart. You cooked dinner, you cleaned the house, you helped me with my math homework, which, by the way, was a disaster until you explained fractions like some kind of math wizard. Despite everything, a small laugh escaped me. A wizard, huh? Yes, she said fiercely, wiping her tears with the sleeve of her hoodie. And we don't kick wizards out. Behind us, Jenna muttered under her breath, oh my God, but even she didn't have the courage to say it louder. Mark rubbed his face, exhausted. Everyone, stop. I didn't ask you to leave, Mom. You told her to go to a home. Lily cut in. That's worse. Mark winced. I didn't mean it. But you said it, I replied softly. And it hurt. The honesty in my voice seemed to deflate him. He sank into his chair, elbows on his knees, staring at the floor as if answers might be hiding in the hardwood. Then, in the middle of all that tension, a sound broke through the hallway. 3 sharp knocks on the front door. Lily jumped. Jenna stiffened. Mark looked up, confused. I blinked. Is someone expected? Jenna shook her head. No. The knocks came again, firmer this time. We exchanged uneasy glances. The house felt too still, too quiet. Lily whispered, Grandma, what if it's someone coming to take you away for real? I gave her a look. Sweetheart, this is Florida, not a kidnapping movie, she whispered, still. Mark walked toward the door, each step slow and cautious. When he pulled it open, every muscle in his body tensed. Standing on the porch, wearing a floral blouse and holding a small flashlight like she'd marched over on a mission, was Mrs. Lopez, our neighbor. Her expression alone said she'd heard every word. And she was not amused. Mrs. Lopez didn't wait to be invited in. She marched past Mark with the determination of someone who had raised 5 children and outlived 2 husbands. Her floral blouse swayed behind her like a flag of judgment. She shined her tiny flashlight around the living room, even though all the lights were on. Good, she said sharply. Everyone is awake enough to hear what needs to be said. Jenna blinked. Mrs. Lopez, we were in the middle of behaving badly? She cut in. Yes, I heard. Mark's jaw tightened. This is a private matter. Mrs. Lopez looked at him the way only a grandmother could. Disappointed, unimpressed, and slightly dangerous. Private? When you yell loud enough for the neighborhood squirrels to flinch? Lily snorted through her tears. Jenna shot her a glare. I stepped forward, embarrassed. I'm sorry you had to hear. No, Margaret, she said, turning to me softly. You don't apologize. Not tonight. Her gentleness nearly undid me. She faced Mark again. I heard enough to know this woman. She placed her hand on my arm, has a kinder heart than the rest of this house combined. Mark opened his mouth, closed it, rubbed his forehead. It's not like that. It's Complicated. Life is complicated, she replied. Respect should not be. Jenna folded her arms. We're overwhelmed. It's not easy living with an extra person. Extra? Lily gasped. She's not a sofa, Mom. Mrs. Lopez nodded approvingly at Lily's outburst. Exactly, she's family. Mark exhaled shakily. We just need space. Then say you need space, Mrs. Lopez replied. Don't tell your mother to go to a home. That's not space. That's cruelty wearing stress as a costume. Mark's shoulders slumped. I didn't mean. But you said it, she finished for him. There was a stillness then, not painful like before, but heavy enough that even the kitchen clock seemed to stop ticking. I walked toward the hallway, trying to avoid creating more chaos. It's okay. I'll go to your place for the night, I told Mrs. Lopez softly. I don't want to cause more tension. Lily grabbed my hand immediately, her small fingers shaking. Grandma, no. Please don't leave me with them tonight. Lily, Jenna warned. No, Lily shouted, stepping in front of me like a tiny guard dog. She's the only nice one here lately. I gave her a sad smile. Sweetheart, sometimes people need time to think. Not without consequences, Lily muttered. Mrs. Lopez sighed. She's not wrong. Then, as if the universe wanted to underline her sentence, a vibration buzzed in my purse. My phone. I pulled out my iPhone, saw the number unknown, and hesitated. Jenna frowned. Are you expecting someone? No, I whispered. But the number? Something about it felt familiar. I answered cautiously. Hello? The voice on the other end was warm, steady, and instantly recognizable, like hearing a memory breathe again. Margaret, it's Tom. I heard what happened. My knees nearly gave way. He continued. I'm already driving. I'll be there soon. Lily's eyes widened. Who's Tom? I swallowed, heart pounding. Someone who still remembers your grandpa and keeps his promises. And just like that, the whole room shifted again. Not with fear this time, but with the possibility of something different. The call from Tom lingered in the air long after I hung up. Everyone seemed to sense that whoever he was, his arrival would change the course of the night. Even Jenna, who usually had a snarky comment ready, stayed unusually quiet. Mark paced the living room, running a hand through his hair like he was trying to untangle a knot too tight for fingers. Lily squeezed my hand. Grandma, you okay? I think so, I whispered, though my heart was beating hard enough to echo in my ears. Mrs. Lopez folded her arms. Good, someone needs to show up here with some sense. Who is this guy again? Jenna asked, pretending to sound casual but failing miserably. I took a slow breath. He worked with my husband years ago. He was like a brother to him. And he's coming here? Mark muttered, stopping mid-pace. Now? He said he's already on the road, I replied softly. Jenna's eyes narrowed. Is he some kind of lawyer? Before I could answer, headlights swept across the living room walls. Bright, long, slow-moving headlights. Not the Toyota Camry leaving or returning. Something else, something bigger. Lily ran to the window. Dad? Mom? Grandma? There's a very long car outside. Mark frowned. Long like what? A limo, Lily whispered dramatically, turning around with eyes wide. Like actual limousine, in front of our house. Jenna gasped. You're joking. She rushed to the window, nearly tripping over the rug. Oh my, okay, why is that here? Who called that? Did someone win the lottery? Mrs. Lopez tapped the glass with her flashlight. Relax. It's not the Oscars. Could just be a rental. But the way she said it made everyone more nervous, not less. Mark opened the door just as the limousine engine quieted. The driver stepped out first, straightening his jacket before walking around to open the back door. Mark stared like someone had pressed the pause button on him. And then Tom stepped out. Older than I remembered, but still standing tall. Salt and pepper hair, steady posture, eyes kind enough to soften the edges of a long day. He looked around before his gaze landed on me. Margaret, he called warmly, you look like you've had one hell of a night. I managed a small, shaky laugh. You have no idea. He approached with controlled urgency, ignoring Jenna's stare and Mark's rigid posture. I came as fast as I could. Your message earlier worried me. Mark blinked. She called you? No, Tom said calmly, but she should have. He glanced around the room as if reading the tension like a book. Then he lowered his voice just slightly, but loud enough for everyone to hear. We need to talk about this house. Jenna visibly paled. Tom reached into his jacket and pulled out a thin folder, worn at the edges but unmistakably official. Lily whispered, Grandma, what is that? My throat tightened. Something your grandpa told him to keep. A long time ago. The room fell silent again, deeper than before. Not the silence of fear, but the silence right before truths begin to surface. Tom didn't sit down right away. He stood in the middle of the living room, holding that thin folder like it carried the weight of the whole truth. The room felt smaller with him in it, as if everyone suddenly realized there were things we had ignored for too long. Before anything else, Tom said softly, "Margaret, do you feel safe here?" Jenna stiffened. "Safe? Why wouldn't she feel?" Tom raised a hand. "Not asking you." I took a shaky breath. "I don't know." Lily squeezed my arm. "She's not," she said, her voice firm. "You wouldn't have driven here at night if she was." Tom nodded once, then walked to the coffee table and placed the folder flat on it. He didn't open it yet. He let the silence do its work first. Mark shifted uneasily, rubbing the back of his neck like a child waiting for a scolding he knew was coming. Tom finally looked at him. "Mark, do you remember the last conversation you had with your father before he passed?" Mark swallowed. I remember some things. Do you remember him asking you to keep this house in the family? To protect your mother?" Mark's throat bobbed. "Yes." "Good." Tom tapped the folder gently. "Because this is the paperwork that makes his wishes clear." Jenna blinked rapidly. "What paperwork? The house is in Mark's name." Tom's eyebrows lifted. "Is it?" The question hung in the air like cold breath. Tom opened the folder. Inside were a handful of documents, copies, old but intact. He slid the first page toward Mark. "That," Tom said, "is the original deed. Your father never transferred ownership to you." Mark stared at the page as if it were written in another language. But the mortgage." "There is no mortgage," Tom said calmly. "Your father paid it off before he died, and he left the house fully to your mother." Jenna's eyes widened. "That can't be right. That is the copy? Where's the real one?" Tom replied, "With the county verified." Jenna stumbled back a step. Even her voice shook. "Why didn't anyone tell us this?" Mark whispered, "Mom, why didn't you say anything?" I blinked at him, stunned. "Because I trusted you. And because I didn't know you needed documentation to love me." His face crumpled like something inside him finally cracked. "No, Mom, that's not. I didn't." Tom held up another document. "This shows something else. A bank withdrawal made last year using your mother's information." My breath caught. "My information?" Lily's head snapped toward her parents. "Whose handwriting is that?" Tom laid the page down quietly. It wasn't Mark's, and it wasn't mine. Jenna's fingers twitched against her side, her face draining of color. Mrs. Lopez, standing beside the lamp, let out a long, disappointed sigh. I knew something smelled wrong. Tom looked at Jenna. "We'll need to talk about this. With someone from my office." Jenna opened her mouth, closed it, then whispered, "This is a misunderstanding." Tom didn't blink. "Then you'll have no trouble explaining it." The room felt like it had shifted again. But this time toward the truth everyone had been avoiding. Jenna stood frozen, her hand hovering near the back of the couch like she needed something solid to hold on to. Mark looked between her and the document as if trying to piece together a puzzle he didn't know existed. "That's not my writing," Mark said quietly. "I swear, Mom, I didn't touch your accounts." "I know," I said gently, though my heart was still pounding. "I never suspected you." Jenna swallowed hard. "It's messy. The signature looks messy. Anyone could have done that." Tom slid the paper a little closer to her. "Funny thing about handwriting, it has a rhythm, a tilt, a pressure pattern." He pointed at the signature. "This one, it leans right, and your old lease documents lean right too." Jenna's eyes widened. "Why are you looking at my documents?" Tom shrugged. "Public filings, dear, not exactly hidden treasure." Mrs. Lopez smirked. "He means he didn't break into your house, though he might have wanted to." Lily tried to muffle the tiny laugh that escaped her, but it slipped out anyway. Jenna shot her a look, but Lily just crossed her arms stubbornly. "I didn't do anything illegal," Jenna insisted, but her voice had lost its strength. Maybe someone at the bank made a mistake." Tom raised an eyebrow. "A mistake that just so happens to route money into a joint account you manage?" Mark blinked. "Joint account?" Silence. Even the air conditioner seemed to pause again. Jenna's lips parted, but no words came out. Mark's voice cracked. "You opened an account without telling me?" Jenna snapped back. "Oh, don't act surprised. You never want to talk about money. Someone has to handle things around here. By taking money that doesn't belong to us?" Mark shouted, for the first time turning his anger towards someone who wasn't me. Jenna flinched. Lily stood close to me, like she was afraid I'd disappear. Dad? How could you not know about this? I don't know. Mark ran his hands through his hair again. God, I don't know anything anymore. Tom let him breathe for a moment before speaking. Mark will need to contact the bank. They'll want statements, signatures, security logs. People I know can review them. Jenna stiffened. People you know? Tom nodded calmly. Financial investigators. Good ones. They hate messy paperwork. Mrs. Lopez snorted. Then they're gonna hate tonight. For the first time, Mark turned slowly toward Jenna. No anger, just hurt. Deep, sinking hurt. Did you do this? Tell me the truth. Jenna's eyes darted away. Her silence was louder than any confession. I put a hand on my chest, steadying myself. I had never wished pain on her, but hearing nothing from her shook me more than her lies. Tom gathered the documents and slipped them back into the folder. I'll file the report tomorrow morning. For now, Margaret should not stay here. Jenna whispered, She's leaving? Mark didn't answer. Tom did. For her safety, yes. The word safety hung in the room. And for the first time, even Jenna didn't argue. Tom insisted on driving me to a safe place for the night, and though part of me wanted to protest, say I didn't want to trouble anyone, I knew arguing would only make things harder. Lily hugged me so tightly at the doorway that Tom had to gently tap her shoulder to remind her I still needed to breathe. I'm coming with you, she declared boldly. Absolutely not, Jenna said. Lily shot back. You let Grandma sleep in peace, or I swear I'll call CPS on you for emotional damage. Mark groaned. Lily, please don't threaten government agencies tonight. She folded her arms. Then let Grandma stay with me at least. Tom knelt slightly to her level. Kiddo, she won't be far. I promise. Lily looked up at him like she was assessing whether he was trustworthy. Finally she said, Fine, but I'm visiting tomorrow. That's a deal, Tom replied. Mrs. Lopez walked us out, holding my small overnight bag like it weighed nothing. I put extra pajamas in here, she said. The fluffy ones, the ones that don't make you look like a sad cloud. I laughed softly. I appreciate that. And I put a snack, she added, because if you go to sleep sad and hungry, you'll wake up looking like a melted raisin. Lily giggled despite her red eyes. Tom opened the passenger door, and I took one last look at the house, the porch light flickering slightly, the shape of my son standing in the doorway, a silhouette of regret. I didn't wave. Neither did he. But his shoulders sagged, like he finally realized I wasn't leaving in anger. I was leaving because staying had become too painful. Tom drove through the quiet Florida streets, the hum of the car soothing in a strange way. After a few minutes, he said, You're not alone, Margaret. And you're not the problem here. I never wanted to be a burden, I whispered. You're not, he said firmly. You never were. The words cracked something inside me, not painfully, but softly, like thawing ice giving way to spring. He brought me to a small, cozy apartment complex he was temporarily renting while working a case in town. When he opened the door, I expected something messy and bachelor-like, but it was surprisingly warm. Soft lamplight, clean sofa, a little Amazon box near the entryway waiting to be opened. You can take the bedroom, he said. I'll take the couch. I can't let you do that, I protested gently. Tom smiled. Margaret, I've slept on worse couches than this one. Trust me. Mrs. Lopez set my bag down and kissed my cheek. Call me if you need anything. I don't care if it's 2 a.m. you call. Thank you, I breathed. When they both left and the apartment became quiet, I finally sat on the edge of the bed. The silence wasn't painful like before. It felt open. Like a door I didn't know existed had just been cracked wide enough to let in a little air. For the first time in a long time, I allowed myself to rest. Morning sunlight crept through the blinds of Tom's apartment, soft and warm like it had been waiting for me to finally sleep without fear. I woke slower than usual, taking in the quiet. No slammed cabinets, no tense footsteps, no voices arguing in the next room. Just peace. Tom had left a sticky note on the kitchen counter beside a fresh muffin. Eat first, think later. It made me smile, something small and unexpected. Around 9 a.m., there was a gentle knock. I opened the door to find Lily standing there with her backpack hanging off one shoulder and a container of food in her hands. Grandma, she whispered, throwing her arms around me. I told Dad I was coming. He didn't argue. That means he's really messed up. I laughed softly. Sweetheart, Come in. She walked to the table, looked around, and said, "Wow, this place feels calm, like no one here is about to yell about electric bills." "It's a temporary space," I said. "Tom is staying here for work." Lily's eyes sparkled in a teasing way. "And you're here, temporarily, too." I gave her a playful warning look. "Don't start." Okay, she giggled. "I'm just saying he gives nice grandpa energy. But if you guys get married, I'm calling dibs on being the flower girl." I shook my head, laughing despite myself. "You're 16, and I'll wear a poofy dress anyway." Her silliness was the perfect medicine for the heaviness inside me. While she unpacked the food she brought, her phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen and her smile dropped. "It's Dad," she answered reluctantly. "Hi?" Even from across the room, I could hear the exhaustion in Mark's voice. "Can you ask Grandma if she'll talk to me?" Lily held the phone against her chest. "Do you want to?" I hesitated, then nodded. She handed it over gently. "Mark," I said, his voice cracked immediately. "Mom, I'm so sorry." I closed my eyes. "What happened after I left?" There was a long pause. Then he said quietly, "Investigators called this morning. Someone from Tom's office flagged irregular activity. They're reviewing everything." I exhaled slowly. "And Jenna?" "She left earlier to run errands," he muttered, "but she took more things than someone running errands needs." Lily whispered, "She took her fancy blender." Mark sighed. "Yeah, and half the closet." I didn't say anything. He continued, voice shaking. "Mom, I didn't know what she was doing. I swear I didn't. I thought she was stressed like me. I didn't think she'd steal from you, from family." His breath hitched. "I failed you." "That isn't true," I said softly. "You lost yourself for a while, but you didn't fail me." "But I hurt you," he insisted. "And now everything is falling apart." Lily stepped closer, leaning her head on my shoulder, listening. I spoke gently, choosing each word with care. "Mark, consequences don't mean the world is ending. Sometimes they mean it's beginning again." There was silence. A trembling inhale. "Can I see you, please?" "We'll talk," I said, "but not today." I hung up slowly, heart heavy yet steady. Lily looked up at me. "Grandma, what now?" I touched her cheek. "Now we let the truth settle, and we breathe." Outside the window, the Florida breeze rustled the palm leaves, like the world had decided to exhale with us. A full year passed before Mark finally gathered the courage to stand on the steps of the small apartment I now called home. Florida winters weren't really winters, but the air that morning carried just enough coolness to remind me how much life had shifted since that night. When I opened the door, Mark looked smaller than I remembered. Thinner, shoulders hunched, eyes tired in a way that didn't come from lack of sleep, but from too many regrets piling up inside a single man. "Mom," he said softly. I nodded, stepping aside. "Come in." He walked in slowly, almost reverently, like he was entering a place he wasn't sure he deserved to step into. His eyes swept over the soft lamplight, the shelf where I kept my Kindle, the little potted plant Lily insisted I adopt because it was low maintenance, like Grandma. Mark swallowed. "You look peaceful." "I am," I answered honestly. He sat on the couch, elbows on his knees. "Everything fell apart after you left. Jenna never came back. She's still dealing with the investigation. I'm working again, but it's been hard." "I know," I said. He looked up, surprise flickering in his eyes. "You heard?" "Lily told me enough." He exhaled shakily. "I don't blame her for choosing you. You've always been the safe place." I sat across from him. "What do you want to tell me, Mark?" He closed his eyes. "I'm sorry." The words trembled, like he had rehearsed them but still struggled to let them out. "Not just for yelling, not just for that night, for letting stress twist me into someone you didn't raise, for listening to Jenna more than my own heart, for making you feel unwanted in the one place that should have been yours." My throat tightened. "I forgave you a long time ago." He looked up sharply. "Then why didn't you come home?" "Forgiving isn't the same as returning," I said gently. "I needed space to breathe too." He nodded slowly, absorbing that truth like medicine that stung going down but healed afterward. "I want things to be better, even if you never move back, even if all I get is the chance to visit and sit with you. I'll take it." "That's a start." A quiet knock interrupted us. When I opened the door, Lily stood there holding 2 plastic grocery bags and a grin. "Grandma, I brought lunch. Oh, Dad's here." She paused, then added with surprising softness, "Good, you should be." Mark managed a small smile. "Hi, kiddo?" She hugged him before brushing past to the kitchen. We're eating outside today. The weather's too pretty to waste on being sad. I laughed. Yes, ma'am? We carried our sandwiches to the small patio behind the apartment. Palm leaves swayed gently, casting soft shadows. Mark sat beside me, unsure but trying. Lily placed a hand on both our shoulders like she was anchoring us. You two need this, she said simply. She was right. As the breeze moved around us, I realized something I hadn't noticed before. I wasn't rebuilding from the wreckage. I was building something new. Something steady. Something mine. And in that quiet Florida morning, peace finally felt like a place I could stay. I used to believe healing came all at once, like a sunrise suddenly washing away a long night. But healing, I've learned, is quieter. It slips in gently, the way morning light enters a room without asking permission. A few months after Mark's visit, my life settled into a rhythm I hadn't realized I craved. Mornings with my Kindle, afternoons walking the small community path behind the apartment, evenings watching the sky turn a soft shade of orange. Nothing grand, nothing dramatic, just peace blooming in the ordinary. Lily visited every weekend. Sometimes she stayed long enough for us to bake something simple together. Banana bread if we felt inspired, store-bought cookie dough if we didn't. She talked about school, about friends, about plans I hoped she would chase with fearlessness. She'd grown into someone stronger than the girl who once tried to shield me from her parents' mistakes. Now she laughed easier, loved louder. One afternoon, as we sat on the patio sipping iced tea, she said, "Grandma, I'm glad you didn't go back." I smiled. Me too. "But you forgave Dad," she added. "Doesn't that mean you'd want to?" I shook my head gently. Forgiveness sets the heart free. But home has to feel safe. She leaned her head on my shoulder. Then this is home. Tom visited often, dropping by with small things. Fresh fruit, a funny newspaper clipping, a book he thought I'd enjoy. Nothing extravagant, everything thoughtful. His presence felt like companionship without expectation, warmth without pressure. Sometimes we'd sit quietly together, letting the Florida breeze fill the spaces words didn't need to. One evening, as the sun dipped low, he said, "Your life didn't fall apart, Margaret, it opened." I looked at him, at Lily, at the simple patio where no one raised their voice or asked me to disappear. He was right. It didn't fall apart. It finally unfolded, the way it was always meant to.